Good morning, second grade. We are going to not review any phonograms to start with because I hope that we all know all of the phonograms we need for our words today. We're going to see, it's going to kind of be like a little quiz. Oh, wait, no, we're going to review one because there's one I think we might not know. So we're going to review two, sorry. The first one is the of early. Class, what are you going to write? Good, the of early. Say it while you write it. All right, class, put your finger under that phonogram. What is it? Good, the of early. This is our the of early. All right, so if you didn't have that, write it. Say it while you write it. Our next phonogram is sh, tall letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. Class, what are you going to write? Good, sh, tall letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. Say it while you write it. All right, class, put your finger under that phonogram you just wrote. What is it? Good, sh. Tall letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. All right, this is our sh, tall letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. All right, well, since we started with phonogram review, let's do a few more. The next one is qua. What are you going to write, class? Good, qua. Say it while you write it. All right, I'm hoping we remembered this one. What phonogram did you just write, class? Good, qua. Class, is this my qua? That's what I wanted us to remember. It's not. We have to have this one with it for it to say anything. All right, so this is our qua. All right, next let's do sh, short letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. What are you going to write? Good, sh, short letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. Say it while you write it. All right, class, what phonogram did you just write? Good, sh, short letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. This is our sh, short letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. All right, our next phonogram is sh, zh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. Class, what are you going to write? Good, sh, zh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. Say it while you write it. Class, put your finger under that phonogram. What is it? Good, sh, zh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. This is our sh, zh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. All right, let's review the phonograms we just wrote. Class, what's this? Good, qua. How about this one? Good, the of early. How about this one? All right, this one is sh, tall letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. Say that with me one more time. Sh, tall letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. How about this one? Good, sh, zh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. And how about this one? Good, this one is sh, short letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. Say that with me one more time. Sh, short letter sh, used at the beginning of syllables after the first one. All right, nice job, class. Our first word today is study. What's the word? Good, study. I need to study for my test. Study. All right, class, how many syllables are in study? Show me. Good. I hope we got this too. Study. What's our first syllable? Good. Our first syllable is stud. What's our second syllable? Good. E. Which E is it? Or no, wait, I'm sorry. I'll tell you. We're going to use ya, it, I, e. Class, which E are we going to use? Good. Ya, it, I, e. All right, so one more time. What's our first syllable in study? Good. Stud. And our second syllable? Good. E. And sorry, I should have us take apart stud quickly. What sounds do we hear in the syllable stud? Good. Our sounds are s, t, d. And then our second syllable E, which E is it? Good. Yeah. It, I, E. All right. Say the sounds. Will you write them? All right, class, put your finger under the first phonogram in that word. Pause the video if you're not ready yet. What is it? Good. S. Good. T. Good. D. Good. Syllable break. E, which E? Good. Yeah. It, I, E. All right, make sure your word looks like mine. Class, do we need to mark anything in our first syllable? We don't. What kind of syllable is it? Good. It's a closed syllable because it ends with a consonant. And how are we going to mark this? Every time this says E, what do we do to it? Good, because that's its third vowel sound. All right, pick up your pencil. And let's read our word. Good. Study. All right, class, we've got a word that ends with a single Y here. That means if we're going to add a vowel suffix that does not start with I, what do we have to trade this Y for? Okay, wait. You might be saying different things, trying to think about things. Let's just slow that down for a second because I know this is a long rule. So we have a word, a base word that ends with a single Y. If we want to add a suffix that does not start with I to our base word, we do something to this Y. We trade this Y for something. What do we trade it for? We have to trade it for an I. That's our Y exchange rule. All right, so our next word is studied. Class, what's our word? Good, studied. She studied hard for her test and got a 90%. Studied. How many syllables are in studied? Show me. Good, 2 syllables. All right, class, our first syllable is, what's our first syllable? Good, just like in our base word, our first syllable is stud. What are we going to write for that first syllable, stud? Good, d. Write that first syllable, say the sounds while you write them. All right, in studied, what's our second syllable? Good, eed. All right, but for eed, we're not going to use this E. Which E are we going to use? We're going to use I-E, right? Because we trade our Y for an I. All right, so in our second syllable, eed, we have E. Which E is it? Good, I-E. And then what? Good, the sound is D, but which D is it? Good, ed, d, t, past tense ending. All right, write that second syllable in studied. Say the sounds, will you write them? All right, class, put your finger under the first phonogram in that word. What is it? Good. S, t, d. Good, syllable break. E, which E? All right, this time it's I, E because we did our Y exchange. And what else do I need to add? Good, D, and which D? Good, ed, the, t, past tense ending. Class, does anything in our first syllable need to be marked? What kind of syllable is it? Good, nothing needs to be marked because it's a closed syllable, all one-letter phonograms. How are we going to mark this? All right, just like this one, remember, because these two phonograms have the same vowel sounds. Just like whenever this one says E, it gets a 3. Whenever this one says E, it also gets a 3. Don't do it yet. How are we going to mark this? All right, we need to underline it. Which of its sounds is it saying? If you're not sure, let's say them. Good. Ed, d, t. How are we going to mark this? Studied. Good. Pick up your pencil. And let's read our word. Good. Studied. All right. Our next word is studies. All right, so we're using the same base word. We're going to add a vowel suffix that does not start with I. So we're going to do our Y exchange rule again. All right, so one more time, the word is studies. Class, what's our word? Good, studies. My brother studies hard for his classes. Studies. How many syllables? Studies. All right, what's our first syllable? Good, it's stud, just like in our base word. Go ahead and write that first syllable, stud. Say the sounds, will you write them? All right, so studies, what's our second syllable? Good, ease. All right, but our E is not what it is in our base word. Which E are we going to use? Good, we're going to use I, E, because we need to do our Y exchange rule. Trade our Y for an I. Okay, so ease, so we have our I, E. When we do our Y exchange rule, we can't add just S. I don't know why, but that's our rule. We can't add just S, so we have to add silent E and then our S or our S. All right, so we've got our first syllable, stud. Our second syllable, ease. What are we going to write? Good. E, which E is it? Good, I-E. Then we have silent E, and then, good, Z. And which Z is it? Good, S, Z. All right, class, say the sounds in that last syllable. Actually, let's go over them one more time. Good. I-E. Silent E. Z. Say those sounds while you write them. All right, class, put your finger under the first phonogram in that word. What is it? Good. E, which E is it? Good, I-E. And then we have silent E. And then we have Z, but which Z? Good, S. All right, class, do I need to mark anything in this first syllable? I sure don't. It's what kind of syllable? Good, it's a closed syllable. How about this? All right, look, every time this says E, it gets this. All right, so this is going to get a 3. How about this one? It's silent. What do we do to silent letters? Good, we double underline them. How about this one? Good, Z, it gets a 2. Pick up your pencil. And let's read our word. Good, studies.